Hello, my friends. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to be sharing what I do as a spiritual health consultant, and I'm going to be sharing some of the services that I provide in that. And that's coming up right after I pay respects to my Lord and Savior. And please join me in.
Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation.
Well, my friends, as you know, in this video, I'm going to be teaching you and explaining to you what I do as a spiritual health consultant. And I'm sitting here in front of the house that I used to live in, and we're going to be talking about that house in here a little while. But what I used to do, I used to have a ministry facility underneath this house, as you can see behind me on the wall. And over here, you see a boarding stable, and you see some pasture ground off in the distance there. Well, I used to do camps and retreats and date night packages, companionship rides. Whatever people needed, I helped them to do that. And in that lower level underneath there was a full service kitchen. There was a banquet room. There was a chapel room. My office was underneath there. There was a guest bedroom. There was a full service shower facility underneath there. So it was basically a retreat for people that needed me. And through that time, I realized that people had a lot of issues going on in their spiritual heart. And when I learned to define the word spirit, people, I had to go and Google what the word spirit is. And so let me do that on my phone and let you listen to that. What is spirit?
Here's the definition of spirit: the non-physical part of a person which is the seat of emotions and character, the soul.
Well, you know, my friends, as a pastor, I really specialize in the fruit of the Spirit, but I realized that the fruit of the Spirit wasn't so much about who God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit were, but about what goes on in my heart and what goes on in your heart. So this is a noun, the non-physical part of a person, which is the seat of emotion and character, otherwise known as the soul. Well, if it is not well in our soul, if we are weak or wounded in our heart, then it affects our soul. So what are the things that make us weak or wounded in our heart? Well, it could be certain things like sin that we are not aware of, or the brokenness of the people that are bringing that towards us. So what I would like to do right now is I'd like to put a slide up on the screen in front of me that says, what is a spiritual health consultant? And while that screen is on there, I'm going to be reading to you what a spiritual health consultant is. So a spiritual health consultant uses his or her gifts of perceiver to assist people in matters of the heart. To perceive is defined as, number one, becoming aware of conscience of something, come to realize or understand. Interpret or look on something as, or something. Let me read that again. Number two, interpret or look on someone or something in a particular way, regard as. Okay? So now as I'm talking to you again, I'm actually reading slides from my tablet because I can't really remember a lot of this. I can look at my notes and I can speak to you, but if I look at my notes and want to, say a couple of paragraphs, I'm going to forget that. So I read a lot of this, as you know, on my screen. You'll see the slides going up on my screen. But friends, when I do my online school, I use a lot of books, and I wrote the books that all my slides come in, and I put the slides of the pages of the book on the screen, because when I become a spiritual health consultant, consulting is not counseling. Consulting is giving you an option to follow along with a beginning and an end to something that you need in your life. Well, in the case of counseling, it's going to go on and on and on and on and on, and you're going to be paying and paying and paying for that over and over and over and over again. I know I've been there, but my friends, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I majored in pastoral counseling. But I realized after all of those years of school and education and being in counseling myself, I realized that consulting had a better vibe for it, because it shows you a beginning and an end of where we're going to go in a consulting session. And I do a lot of that through my online school courses. So I'm going to put up another slide in front of me that's going to say spiritual gifts. But the fact is if I didn't know my spiritual gifts, I could not be a spiritual health consultant or a pastor. So as I put that slide on the screen in front of me, it says compassion, perceiver, and exhorter. Okay, when I took my spiritual health assessment tests that come from Romans 12, 6 through 8, which says we have different gifts according to the grace given to us, to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is to serve, then serve. And if it's to teach, then teach. If it is to encourage, then encourage, then give encouragement. If it is to give, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Okay? And as my 3 highest gifts stay on the screen there, my friends, I'm going to talk to you about the characteristics of the compassionate person. Of all the gifts that that of compassion is by far the most frequently bestowed. How wonderful that this is so. What this world needs now is love, sweet love, as the song tells us. Maybe it's because so many people are hurting that God has created such a vast number of compassionate people. To have mercy. In the Greek, the word is elo. Strong's exhaustive concordance defines it as to compassionate by word or deed, specifically by divine grace, having compassion, pity on, having obtained, received, mercy on. The compassionate person is to show his compassion with cheerfulness, signifying the readiness of mind, the joyfulness which is prompted to do anything, hence cheerful. So when I help somebody with my compassionate heart, I want to do it cheerfully. I want people to have joy when I'm helping them, okay? So you see that my next highest gift is the gift of perceiver. So the characteristics of a perceiver. The Greek word for prophecy in verse 6 is prophethesia, relating to prophets, which means, according to Strong's exhaustive concordance, an inspired speaker. One of its root words is pleum, meaning to show or make known one's thoughts, to speak, say, or affirm. According to Bible scholars, the prominent idea of prophecy in the New Testament is not prediction, but the inspired delivery of warning, exhortation, instruction, judging, and making manifest the secrets of the heart. In the specific context of motivational gifts, I see that the word refers to one who is especially sensitive to perceiving the will of God and then proclaiming it, or depending upon the Lord's direction, praying for it to be accomplished. The perceiver then is one who readily perceives, prays about, proclaims, and promotes the will of God. And as you can see, my third highest gift there is the gift of an exhorter. So the characteristics of an exhorter, where the teacher aims for the head, the exhorter aims for the heart. It is not so much the content of that the exhorter wants to impart as how the content can be made effective in people's lives. Every one of the gifts can teach. And let me say that again. Every single one of the gifts can teach, but the exhorter makes the most interesting and pliable teacher. All my efforts are geared towards edifying and encouraging other people. I could have called myself the encourager. In fact, the Greek word parkasidia, mir, a calling to one side to aid, denoting both exhortation and encouragement. Okay? So I'm going to put up another slide on the screen here, my friends. And as you can see this slide on the screen here now, it says, with my perceiver gift, I can clearly see to perceive the perception of what people go through. So how do you now define perception? The ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. And then there's a couple bullet points that you see on there. The state of being or process of becoming aware of something through the senses. And the second point under there is a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, a mental expression. Okay? My friends, I'm going to end this slide presentation here. I know I only put 2 slides on the screen there for you, or 3. But what I want to do is, my wife actually held a camera while I did a little demonstration. So what I like to do is I like to have you watch that demonstration. And this is a cup of water demonstration. And once you see that demonstration, I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you. And I'm going to talk to you about a little bit more things about what I do as a spiritual health consultant. So take about 10 seconds, my friends, and let's watch that video. Hello, I'm Pastor Michael, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a spiritual health consulting session, and my wife Michelle is actually holding the camera, and I'm going to be asking her some questions, and this is going to be like I'm doing a consulting session with her. So, honey, you took the spiritual health checkup, right?
Yes, I did.
How did it make you feel?
After I was all done, I was just surprised, and my hair on my arms were standing up because I didn't know how true this was.
So there was some words in there that might be pretty painful, right?
Oh yeah.
So what would happen if I would poke you with this little stick pin?
It would hurt.
Can you see the stick pin in the video?
I can come closer and they
Okay.
can see.
Check out this little stick pin. Okay. All right. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what I want you to know is we studied the way and the truth and the life of Jesus. So when you look at this cup, you're going to see a little heart, okay? Can you see the heart in the cup? It's how we think and how we feel. And on that, you see the words bitterness, misery, worry, and frustrations, okay? Well, now you see others, you see two hearts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there you're going to see harshness, you're going to see evil, you're going to see dishonesty, and you're going to see violence. Can you see those on there?
Yep.
On this side is our actions, and that's self-indulgence. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so a lot of these things will hurt us, okay? So what I'm going to do is for those things that hurt, I'm going to ask you if this was being projected at you or if you were projecting this at somebody else, would it hurt? Okay, would bitterness hurt if it was being projected at you?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a poke. I'm just going to put just a hole in there, okay? It doesn't mean very much, it's just a little hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about misery? You think that's going to cause a lot of hurt and pain in your life?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's put a little hole in there. How about worry? You think that's going to cause some pain in your life?
Lots.
Lots?
Yeah.
Oh, we better do a few holes in there because
Myself.
worry really bothers you, right?
Yeah, myself, I worry, my brain starts taking over, and
Okay, let's talk about frustrations. Does that hurt you sometimes?
yes.
How much does frustration really hurt you?
A lot.
Quite a bit?
Quite a bit.
Well, because it hurts quite a bit, let's put a couple of more holes in there, okay? Frustration, okay? So we just talked about the things that we think and the things that we feel. Now we got to talk about how other people come across to us. Have you known people in your past that have dispelled harshness towards you?
Of course.
How does that make you feel?
Angry.
So there's probably a lot of those in there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How about evil? Have you felt any evil coming from people in your life?
Yep.
In your past?
Yep.
Okay. Let's put a hole right there. How about dishonesty? Have you known anybody be dishonest towards you?
Yes, I have.
That hurts, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just poking a few small holes in this cup, okay? How about violence? Have you known anybody be violent towards you?
Yep.
Okay, let's poke a couple holes in that cup, okay? Now, when your actions, and these things are hitting you, your actions have a tendency to show some self-indulgence. That's your Band-Aid to be able to deal with those things that you feel and how people treat you. Is that right?
So self-indulgence is a Band-Aid?
Yeah, self-indulgence is a Band-Aid. So
That's pretty cool.
some of the things that you do for self-indulgence could be overeating, oversleeping. You could have an addiction to alcohol, drugs, or pornography. Okay, so this cup represents our heart, okay, because of what it does to other people, okay? So what I'm going to do is there's a scripture in the Bible, it's in Proverbs, and it says, guard your heart because everything you do flows from it. So your heart is like the wellspring of your life. So if you don't protect your heart, everything's going to flow over. So what I want you to do is I want you to focus on what's going to happen. I'm going to put some water in this cup. This is what our heart looks like when it's been hurt so many times. Okay? Can you see the cup pretty good?
Yep.
Let's put this on the other hearts because that's what people do to us. Okay, now watch what happens when I pour.
This is what other people have done to us?
Yeah, this is how you think and how you perceive life, what other people do to you, and how your actions respond to that. Okay?
All right.
Now this cup, the cups are the same size, right?
Yep.
Okay, watch what happens here.
It's leaking.
Now that's what happens when we have a heart that is broken and full of holes. How long do you think it would take for that water to drain out of there?
Not very long at all.
Okay. How does this make you feel to see this?
Heartbroken.
Makes you feel heartbroken. Okay. So as a spiritual health consultant, part of my job is to help you to understand where your emotions are and where your spiritual health is at concerning those emotions. And when we get to a point that our emotional tank is empty, our spiritual tank also runs out. Okay?
Okay.
So now we have a heart that's full of holes. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up the same amount of water that we just used there. Okay? As you can tell, the water is full, right?
Yep.
So now I'm going to take this water out so you know I'm not adding to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring another dish here to make sure that you understand what's going on. Okay? Now we have another cup, right? Now on this cup we have the words think and feel, right?
Yep.
So we have love, joy, peace, and patience on there. You see those words? Okay, now when we deal with other people, what do we see? Kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and gentleness. And our actions,
The Nesses.
our actions now are self-controlled because we have a new heart.
Wow.
This is the heart of Jesus. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put our bad heart into Jesus's heart, so therefore our heart is guarded. Okay? I still have holes in that broken heart, right?
Right.
Okay, now what happens? I'm going to take the same amount of water and I'm going to put it in this cup.
Wow, that's a cool experiment. Great visual.
Okay, now I'm holding the water, the wellspring of life is holding in the cup. Why do you think that's happening?
Because Jesus makes us whole again if we believe in him.
That's better than that water. The wellspring of life could be something different than that water, right?
Right.
So it holds, right?
Right.
Okay? So when it comes to heart refinement, my friends, I'm a heart refinement specialist. I'm also offering my services as a spiritual health consultant. I want to be able to help your heart transition to this situation here. The water, my friends, is still in the cup. There is nothing in this dish. Okay?
Yep.
So when you get to this point, my friends, that your water is no longer holding, because I can't even pull that out of there. If I do, I'm going to drain that water out of there.
Just goes to show you how Jesus is strong and we should believe in him. His
Anything-
love is strong.
Anything else you'd like to say?
That is a very cool experiment.
All right.
Give me the visual of actually how it is.
So can you relate to this? This is pretty sad to see that happening,
It's
right?
very sad. A lot of people go through that every day.
Okay. This is why we need to guard our heart. This is why it says in Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed in your heart by the renewing of your mind. And then you'll be able to test and approve what God's pleasing and perfect will is for your life.
Amen.
Well, my friends, in that video, which was actually pretty cool, you've seen me putting some holes in a cup that represent a broken, wounded heart, and then you've seen me put that cup in another cup, which is actually the heart of Jesus Christ. Would you like to make some comments to me below in the comments in the section here that you're watching? And if you like these videos, would you hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, and I'll keep doing these videos for you. So what I'd like to do now is I would like to put another slide on the screen here, and it's going to talk about now what is projection. So before I do that, my friends, when I perceive what's going on in your heart, what you're doing is you're projecting something at me. So when I do a consulting session with you, you're projecting something at me. So now when that slide goes up on the screen here, let's look at that. Okay, now what is projection? And we got two definitions of it. Number one, an estimate or forecast of a future situation or trend based on a study or present ones. And number two, psychological projection is a defense mechanism people subconsciously employ in order to cope with difficult feelings or emotions. Psychological projections involves projecting undesirable feelings or emotions into someone else rather than admitting it or dealing with the unwanted feelings. Let me read that again. Psychological projection is a defense mechanism people subconsciously employ in order to cope with difficult feelings or emotions. Psychological projection involves projecting undesirable feelings or emotions into someone else, rather than admitting to or dealing with the unwanted feelings. My friends, as that slide leaves the screen, if we're projecting our feelings towards somebody else, or they're projecting their feelings towards us, that's going to cause us to respond in a different way. Okay, so I'm going to put up another slide on the screen here, and as you can see, it says, what is perception? What is perspective? Okay, your perspective is the way you see something. If you think that toys corrupt children's minds, then from your perspective, a toy shop is an evil place. If we say someone has perspective, we mean she has a sensible outlook on life. So to have perspective, my friends, it means that we need to have an outlook on life. So as you can see, my second slide just went up on the screen. It says, what is an example of perspective? Well, perspective is a noun. Perspective is a way that one looks at something in. It is also an art technique that changes the distance or depth of an object on paper, or as you can see on the mural of my wall here. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. An example of perspective is farmer's opinion about the lack of rain. An example of perspective is a painting where the railroad tracks appear to be curving in the distance. That's perspective. Okay. So as I change the slide again, you're going to see another comment on there. It says, to be a true success, we must possess masterful people skills. The key to successful relationships lies solely on our ability to take the perspective of another. Perspective taking is that all-important skill of being able to look at things from a point of view other than your own. Perspective takes people into the mindfulness of compassion and empathy to our relationships. When these two qualities are present in our interactions, mutual respect, success, and movement forward is guaranteed. Okay, my friends, that's it for the power slides on part 2 of this session of what I do as a spiritual health consultant. Remember, we were talking about perception and how we perceive things. And what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the house behind me a little bit. So I'm going to shift my chair around here a little bit. So as you can tell, this house was painted on the wall before I actually read and researched what it means to actually look at a perspective of how things move. So what I wanted to indicate out of this house was a 1-point projection, okay? On the rest of my murals that are around the room, and I'll show you that in another video, but we need to see 2 points. So there would need to be a point right here. So from the camera setting, we don't see 2 points. This is the front part of the house, okay? And this is the side part of the house that you would enter into. There's a door right there. But from looking at this, it looks like this whole thing continues on. Well, that's perspective, my friends. And so what I've done here, my friends, is I realized, because I lived in this house, and there's some things that were not right in this house. So in this drawing of this house, so this railing ends up over a post right here. But in all actuality, my friends, this retaining wall right here ends at this railing here. So according to the projection of my wall here, this needs to be over here. So if this needs to be over here, then this needs to be projected back. So when we're talking about perspective, my friends, and we're talking about how we look into somebody's heart and we look at their emotions and their character, we have to give a spiritual health checkup for them, and that's how I do that. I don't just sit down and start talking to you. You give me a place to start, and that's what happens. So basically what I'm going to do, and that's why I'm doing that in this video, my friends, is I'm going to have to take my sky blue paint, and I'm going to have to paint from this railing right here, including the top of this area right here, and I'm going to have to paint blue from this line over all the way this way. That means this tree is going to disappear because I'm going to have to fix this. So I want remember I was talking about 1-point projection? So I want to see 1 point. So the 1 point where it goes back at an angle, okay, this needs to establish right here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to extend this railing over the top part of this retaining wall, and I'm going to make this blend in with this brown wall over here. This is the basement stuccoed wall of that ministry facility. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to make this perspective go into the background horizon. So what my intentions are, my friends, is to actually do a video series of this, and I'm going to actually keep doing my teaching videos, and I'm going to, the next time you see this, I'm going to paint over this, and then I'm going to do the projection lines of what I'm trying to do. Okay, that's important that you all see that. And when we think about being spiritual health consultants, that's important. Okay, we need to understand where we're going and why we're going there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this corner, like I said, and when you start seeing this and the perspective that it belongs in, you're going to understand what a spiritual health consultant is. So the next time that you see me on my YouTube channel, this is going to be painted sky blue of what I'm going to be fixing here, and then I'll talk to you about that in a video. Okay, in my next video, people, I promised that I'd be sharing the great commands of Jesus, and that's what I'm going to do. There's 1050 great commands of Jesus, and I'm going to be sharing that coming up in about 3 days. Until then, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and every time I do a video, you'll get a notification of that. You don't want to miss the transition of this drawing, this painting on the wall. It's going to have so much of a different look that you don't want to miss the process. I'm not going to do it all in one step, but I'm going to make videos as I go. But I'm going to be talking about other things and referring to this step. So my friends, I thank you for watching this, and may God bless you, and may His face shine upon you, and may Jesus always bring you joy. And I'll see you in the next video.